Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. Her parents say they're terrified of their 12-year-old daughter.
I had a bunch of baby birds in my hands. I killed them.
Is this little girl a danger to her family?
Your brothers and sisters are afraid of you?
Yes.
Do you want them dead?
No. But can you try and keep them away from me?
If we continue living in this type of chaos, foster care is an option for Inesca.
You do have a decision to make. And I'm going to tell both of you, you're in way over your head.
Plus,
my husband is addicted to video games. He didn't even come out for his own daughter on her 14th birthday party.
I've been sick, Rachel.
is he choosing gaming over his family?
You bought a flat screen on vacation to play your video game?
Yes, she said, go ahead, do it.
So I didn't have to hear him bitch the whole time.
Her temper is out the roof.
Was that her temper?
Yeah, that was her temper when she gets mad at me.
Well, you're a little thin-skinned. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yesterday, we met 12-year-old Inesca. Her family says they've been worried about her explosive anger and violent rage for the last 9 years. Inesca's parents say she's chased her siblings with 6-inch knives, and now they're all locked up far out of her reach. They say she killed the pet hamster, Jack, by smashing it flat with a flashlight and took a nest full of baby birds and killed them with her bare hands. She's also set fire to a comforter in the garage, threatened to kill her mom, and drew a picture of her siblings dead in their graves. She's also run away from home and school, stalked and threatened the vice principal, and was just recently expelled from school. Inesca says violence is the only way she knows how to get what she wants. Here's what you missed from yesterday.
Inesca is explosive, violent, aggressive. She lies, she steals, and she doesn't respect authority.
Knock it off. Wow.
She's threatened to kill you. She's choked her sister, kicked her brother. She's chased her siblings around with a knife. You've taken her to treatment centers 17 different times, been on 50 different medications.
And we took her to a therapeutic residential boarding school.
She beat the host mother.
She did. When Inesca was 6 years old, she killed our pet hamster with a metal flashlight.
It looked like a piece of carpet by the time she was done. She was absolutely nonchalant about it.
When Inesca was 7, she went outside. She got into a bird's nest. She killed the baby birds.
So this wasn't an impulse thing. She had to methodically go through the entire nest and kill them one at a time.
And I don't know who could do that with their bare hands.
She actually hung herself with a dog leash.
She did.
Over the door.
I click it to the other part, put that around my neck, tighten it, and then I jump. I wasn't scared. I didn't even know that was happening. It's like somebody was in control of myself.
Do you think you have a problem with anger?
I get a lot of anger issues, so you might not want to be around me.
Why do you think you get angry?
I was maybe born with it.
Once you are angry, do you remember afterwards everything you said or did?
No.
She starts chasing us around the house with the knife. I was pretty scared. We were like screaming and crying because we didn't want to die, and we thought she was gonna kill us.
This is the picture she drew. Her brother and sisters in a grave with grave markers and her on the side.
She wants to be the only child.
Your family's in chaos. Do you think you should change the way you're behaving?
I want to, but no one's helping me out here.
You both feel very much at the end of your rope here, right?
I don't think it's
We can continue this way for very much longer.
Oh my God.
The school sent a letter when I said that you can't go to school. The superintendent of schools, the CEO, has advised me that Aneska is not to attend school beginning January 25th, 2016, based on her ongoing behaviors exhibited at school and the understanding that we do not have the resources nor the expertise to address her therapeutic needs. You will need to secure external support and therapy resources for Aneska prior to consideration of her return to school. So is that what you wanted, is to be kicked out?
It's one of the stupidest schools on earth. But actually, there's one person, a couple people I like, and that's about it.
Yeah. So you're not sorry that you're kicked out?
Mm-mm.
Are you sorry that your brothers and sisters are afraid of you?
Yes.
Do you wish they were not afraid of you?
Yes.
But yet you attack them?
Yes.
Do you wish you could stop yourself from attacking them?
Yes. And why am I saying yes so much?
You tell me.
Because you're asking me the yes questions?
Your sister wrote a letter. She said the other day she got extremely mad at me talking about you and my brothers and started to hurt us. Aneska ended up hitting and scratching the babysitter. 5 minutes later, me and my brothers were in my room and Aneska tries to come in and hurt us, but we were holding the door. My babysitter comes in and tells her to draw the picture that we've already seen of what she was feeling. So she draws a picture of me and my brothers in graves. She wants us dead. I'm afraid to sleep at night. Please, can you help? Do you want them dead?
No. They're my siblings. I never wanted them dead. I don't want them dead.
Can you live with them?
Mm-hmm. I can live with them. But only on one occasion.
What?
Can you try and keep them away from me? Because they're very, very annoying.
And that's what we have to do at home.
Yeah.
Do
Well,
our best to separate.
that's not going to work.
God bless America.
Yeah, that's not going to work. I tell you what, we're going to excuse Aneska for a few minutes because we're going to have some adult talk here.
Uh-oh.
And when we come back, I'm going to talk to these parents.
Can I sit in the audience?
No. About what I think needs to go on. And it's about making some adult decisions. And Aneska does not get to be in charge. She does not get to make these decisions because she is a child. We'll talk about all that when we come back.
Dave has told me that if we continue living in this type of chaos, he feels as though foster care is an option for Aneska.
And later...
Dr. Phil, I need your help. My husband is addicted to video games. He has ignored his own teenage daughter on her 14th birthday party. Didn't even come out for it. Please help.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. In this family.
She said you're an emotionally stunted bully.
She pretty much hit that round head.
The only one.
You put your hands on another human being.
Like you don't.
Behaving like an adult.
You got here and started criticizing my staff.
I was joking.
That's not funny.
Is their 15-year-old daughter.
When the kids start fighting, I try to break it up to where the adults don't get involved and things don't get worse.
How did this become your job?
That's tomorrow.
Dave has told me that if we continue living in this type of chaos, he feels as though foster care is an option for Aneska.
It just has reached a point where there's only so much you can do for Aneska. Why should 5 other people have to live through hell while one person seems to get off on somebody else suffering?
As Aneska's mom, the thought of putting her in foster care is heartbreaking. She's my daughter, and I love her very much. I know that if she goes into foster care, she's going to get lost in the system.
Okay, well, we're talking to Melanie and Dave, who say they're trying to find out what's at the root of their 12-year-old daughter Aneska's stealing, lying, setting things on fire, explosive anger, manipulative behavior, running away. Dave says his youngest daughter, Mariska, has volunteered to go into foster care just to get away from her sister. Aneska says all she wants is a normal life. Okay, tell me, what's your observation of my dialogue with Aneska?
She's all over the map.
She's all over the map. She comes alive. She's inward. And, I mean, this is kind of like, it's not just because of the show. No. This is kind of how she is. And sometimes I don't even know if she understands what's being said to her. And other times she can communicate very well. I don't know how much of Aneska's behaviors and everything, how much she's in control of and how much she's not in control of. It's a really hard line to parent a child when you don't know if they have the ability to be able to change the behavior on their own. Mm-hmm. And she's so highly manipulative that at times I think she can, and other times I think maybe she can't. Like, who would do some of the things that she does if she could control it?
She likes to be the center of attention, you know.
She needs to be in control.
She has to be in control.
Okay, well, it's time for me to give you some feedback about what I see and what's going on. You know, first off, she is a study in contradictions, right? Because on the one hand, she's very intelligent and very articulate. Big vocabulary, lots of word power, and she can think at times well beyond what you would think for a not very educated 12-year-old. Because what education she has not been very efficient because she's been so disruptive, she hasn't been plugged in. So I suspect she's in the top 2 or 3% of the curve IQ-wise. So she's very intelligent, no doubt about that. She has quite a personality, no doubt about that. In terms of talking therapy that most people would do in terms of psychotherapy, I would predict it would make her worse, because there are certain types of personalities in talking therapies. They get worse because what you do is you teach them how to mimic better. And they pick up the symbol system of the therapist, adopt that symbol system, and they learn to use that to fool other people. So
she's very good at that.
Yeah, they, like, if the therapist says you need to have empathy, and so they teach them what empathy is,
now she'll use that.
Then they know, they say, okay, so next person I talk to, I'll show them empathy, and they'll go, oh, wow, this is an empathetic little girl. Or they'll use those terms and words and begin to mask who they really are even better. So there's a real danger there, and she's quite good at that. You know, she does read the room pretty well for a narcissist, and she's very kind of narcissistic, but she does kind of read the room and kind of knows. She's flirtatious, even for a 12-year-old. Developmentally, she appears to me emotionally to be functioning at like a much younger age than she is. She's very childish in that regard, which tells me that her social development or emotional development stopped before 12 years old. I mean, she's functioning at a maybe 6, 7-year-old level emotionally, which is why you're still seeing the tantrum behavior of a much more immature child than what's happening here. So developmentally, I think she's arrested her development at maybe half of her lifespan at this point. So, you know, this is all interesting to me. She's had a lot of medication thrown at her. and that medication can be really, really toxic. And you're quite right. At this point, you do have a decision to make. And I'm going to tell both of you, you're in way over your head in terms of you being able to help her through parenting.
When Aneska was 3 years old, she fell off a tricycle. About a week later, we noticed a change in Aneska's personality and behaviors.
It was like somebody had flipped a switch. Aneska was a totally different child.
When Aneska was 3 years old, she fell off a tricycle and landed on her face. She had chipped a tooth, her face was swollen, and she was bleeding. Aneska was taken to the hospital, and she had a quick examination by a doctor, and we were told to take her home. About a week later, we noticed a change in Aneska's personality and behaviors.
It was like somebody had flipped a switch. Aneska was a totally different child.
As each year went by, Aneska's attitude progressively got worse. She started screaming and yelling at people, becoming defiant, being aggressive with family members. By the time Aneska was 6 years old, she was out of control. I think that fall may be where this all began.
I'm not much into labels. What I know is that her behavior's not working. And so we're going to have to change her brain. This isn't just psychological or psychiatric. We're going to have to change her brain.
So do you feel that there's a brain damage?
I don't think there's any question that there's neurological involvement here. I think there was probably traumatic brain injury at 2.5. I think it's undiagnosed. And I think it may have triggered some things that we, even 10 years later, we have much better technology than we did 10 years ago. There is a company called Genimind that is really bringing innovation to mental health care, and they're doing it through genetic testing. And they say that genetic testing can help unlock what a body really needs to feel better faster, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Sonia Mukherjee is their medical liaison and trains the doctors on how to use Genimind's testing. Sonia, talk to us a little bit about exactly what goes on with this assay and finding the genetic markers to customize the treatment.
Sure. So the assay consists of 18 genes that have clinically replicated literature supporting their clinical significance. So it helps you understand the underlying pathology that's going on with the patient. Not every patient with depression has the same combination of genes or the same etiology as other patients with depression. So this helps you take a unique look at the individual and, as Dr. Phil mentioned, develop the right cocktail of medications that will help treat that underlying pathology.
There are genetic markers, and these are, I mean, they're like road signs, and they will tell you specifically which medications will help, which ones won't do anything, and which ones will make it actually worse. And this allows for customizing a treatment and eliminating a vast array of medications, right?
Yeah, it really helps narrow down the trial and error approach, which is currently how we work in psychiatry. You try a medication, if that doesn't work, you switch to another one. You don't necessarily have any objective biomarkers to inform those treatment decisions. So this provides information on what's more likely to work, what's likely to cause adverse events so that you can avoid those medications, and ultimately leads to better response rates and outcomes for the patients.
Yeah, and there's been great success with this on what disorder? We're talking about depression, schizophrenia?
Yeah, it's relevant for patients with depression, ADHD, OCD, anxiety, schizophrenia, as well as chronic pain and substance abuse. And there's a lot of commonalities between those disorders, even though they have separate diagnoses and labels. A patient with depression may present with a lot of the same cognitive deficits that a patient with ADHD has. So looking at the neurobiology of the brain can help you see those commonalities and target medications based on their mechanism of action to the underlying pathophysiology of that patient.
We very much think that this evaluation, this assay should be done. And this is not a difficult or invasive thing to do, right? You can do this in what way? What do you have to collect to do this?
It's just a simple cheek swab. So it's a Q-tip that comes in a kit. It's painless, very quick. You send the sample into the lab, and within 3 to 5 days, you'll have your results. And then the clinician will be able to look at the results and the medical history and come up with a more personalized treatment plan.
So we're going to take a lot of the guesswork out of that. And then what about the brain? We're going to talk about that. So my final thoughts for this family when we come back.
Is a husband choosing video games over his family?
You bought a flat screen on vacation to play your video game?
Yes, she said, go ahead, do it.
So I didn't have to hear him bitch.
Well, I'm back with Dave and Melanie, and we have been talking about Aneska. And listen, when you get in this kind of a situation, it's time to really get on the absolute cutting edge. And that's why we asked Sonia to come here. It's time to stop guessing. And it's time to start looking at the genetic markers here and dial in exactly, precisely what's needed. I'm very anti-medication in terms of just throwing pills at people. I approach this from the standpoint of biochemical replacement theory. It's like if your body's not making enough of something, or if it's making too much of something else, that needs to be balanced. You know, you get into what's called a heterostatic state. You get out of balance and you need to be brought back into balance. Then that's when I'm okay with using medications. And I think we're clearly in that situation here with her. I think she's in a heterostatic state, needs to be brought back into homeostasis. But we don't want to guess at it. We want to be very precise, which is exactly what we can do here. Now, then there's the question about what's going on with the brain. And I think this needs to be looked at in a much finer detail than it has. Now, I have talked to Dr. Bradley Jabbour. He's at the Medical Imaging Center here in LA. They're in Santa Monica. And I believe that this is absolutely the world's best in terms of brain imaging on the globe. I mean, people come to Dr. Jabbour and his team from all over the world. I mean, they fly in from as far away as Europe, the Middle East, all to be evaluated at this particular center. And I've asked him if he would work with Aneska and truly get the cutting edge images of this brain and see what's going on here, because I think there are some parts of the brain that have gone dark here. And I think they've gone dark in terms of impulse control. And I think those areas need to be identified so they can be activated, which is possible to do. And they have agreed to see her and to do this study on her brain and her evaluation. And it can be done without contrast materials, so it's non-invasive, nothing has to be done. So I think by doing this very careful evaluation of the brain and doing this particular assay here for these genetic markers, I think we're going to get some answers that you haven't had ever before in your life. And
Thank you.
I think that's what we need to do here. Fair enough?
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And we need to do this right away, because I think you're at a tipping point here.
We are.
And we need to do it. So sound like a plan to you?
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Right, fair enough.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Dr. David Rosenthal is a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist from Boulder, Colorado, and he has agreed to administer the genetic testing on Aneska. So Dr. Rosenthal is going to work with Sonia and her company here to do the testing here, the genetic assay. So Dr. Jabbour will handle the work on the brain. Dr. Rosenthal will handle genetic markers, and we're going to get you some answers.
It's amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, a husband who misses his kids' birthday parties, sporting events, vacations, because he says he's very busy. But he doesn't have a job. He plays video games all day, and his wife is fed up. We'll meet them next.
It's the truth.
That's her temper is out the roof.
Was that her temper?
Yeah, that was her temper when she gets mad at me.
Well, you're a little thin-skinned.
And later, find out what Aneska's results reveal at the end of the show.
Her brain is on fire.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Who's really doing the parenting in this family?
When the kids start fighting, I try to break it up.
You keep the adults out of it because they make it worse.
Yes.
How did this become your job?
That's tomorrow.
Rachel is pleading with me to get her husband, Paul, to put down his game controller and pay attention to her. She says he has missed out on vacations, his daughter's birthday parties, and a few parties that Rachel has wanted to have, well, in the bedroom. Paul says because of a medical condition, he absolutely needs to kick his feet up and escape into a virtual world. Take a look.
Dr. Phil, I need your help. My husband is addicted to video games. He plays his games from the time he wakes up in the morning, from the time he goes to bed at night.
He plays them past 3 a.m.
He is so bad that he has ignored me and the kids. He would rather play the video games than be with me sexually. He has ignored his own teenage daughter on her 14th birthday party. Didn't even come out for it.
I lay down and I have to have a pillow under my left leg. And then I prop pillows up, and I put my headphones on, and then I start playing.
He refuses to admit that he has a problem. He says it's because he hurts and he has a blood disorder.
I have phlebitis and cell damage and neuropathy in my left leg.
He is now living with his mom and dad rent-free and still playing the games. Nothing's changed.
Kind of my day right here.
Please help.
Rachel, you're at this point concerned that this marriage is going off the rails.
Yes, sir.
And you say it's because he has checked out completely.
Absolutely.
And
I've been sick.
You've got a medical condition,
serious medical condition.
Okay, and you don't dispute that, right?
No, sir, I do not.
And I've looked at the medical records. There's no question. You have a blood disorder. It's legitimate.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
But I don't ignore the kids or you. I've been sick, Rachel. This is about more than just video games. This is a lot more involved in this.
Well, let's get those out of the way. Let's talk about the video games.
Yeah.
And look,
I know that I get...
I can help in this situation if I have all the cards on the table.
Mm-hmm.
I have more history in chronic disease management than you might know.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with video games?
Yeah, I have a moderate problem with them.
Okay, and how many hours a day on average?
Probably about 6 hours.
Okay, you say 12 to 14.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now that's a big gap between 6 hours a day, which, in my opinion, I would consider to be an extreme problem.
Yeah.
And 12 to 14, which I would consider to be ridiculously extreme problem. So, but let's get this straight.
Yeah, I play about 6 hours a day. I try to be with you and the kids during that daytime. I try to come and eat with you guys. We used to eat together. Then
Aren't you living with your mother now?
I'm staying at my parents, not rent-free. I'm paying our bills.
Okay, but you've moved out.
I moved out because me and her, we have issues. She's got anger issues, so do I. Have never played them 12 hours a day.
She says you wake up and you play them all day long until you go to bed, that you eat in bed playing the game, That you stay in bed playing the game, that you put a pillow under your left leg, you put a pillow behind your head, you put your controller in your lap, you sit there and play the game, they bring you food, you miss parties, you miss dinners, you go on vacation, you bought a flat screen to play your game.
I didn't buy a flat screen. Oh, yeah, I did.
You did in Pensacola.
Because I was, well, what's wrong with me when I'm having issues?
But you bought a flat screen on vacation to play your video game?
Yes, she said, go ahead, do it.
The reason why I told him to go buy a screen so I didn't have to hear him bitch the whole time.
Well, you're going to talk like that. I'm not going to talk with you because I'm tired of this.
It's the truth.
That's her temper is out the roof. And I'm not going to be laughed at and made fun of.
I'm not making fun of you, sir.
I'll be honest with you.
I'm not
going to be called names like you've called me in the past. I'm not going to take it no more. You need to learn to talk to me the right way.
I understand.
Or no way at all, because I'm your husband. And if you want this to work, then we need to work it out together.
I understand, and I'm not here denying anything.
Was that her temper?
Yeah, that was her temper when she gets mad at me, because that's what we end up doing, and we both get mad at each other.
Well, you're a little thin-skinned if that was her temper.
Her temper gets that way worse than mine. She's thrown things at me, broke a TV in our bedroom.
Yes, I did. Because you're constantly yelling
I'm not
at me.
yelling at you, Rachel. I yelled at you now because I got upset because you talking the way you do.
This is an everyday occurrence of you yelling at me if I say anything.
I don't yell at you every day, right?
And when I don't say anything and I bite my tongue, you come in.
I don't want to make a fool of myself on
and
TV.
you say, "What the hell is wrong with you? What's your problem?" And I try to bite my tongue because I'm trying to avoid an argument.
Like I said, Dr. Phil, it's to the point of me getting my own place. That's where it's at.
Well, I got a couple ideas.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing this a while.
I know you have. That's why I came. I know we need help.
I got a few ideas to float by this couple when we come back. That's way short of getting his own place. We'll be right back.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phil to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply. Hey.
We can't do this show without you, our studio audience.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Because we have a lot of fun here, don't we?
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. That's 323-461-7445.
Just last year, my husband started an emotional affair.
I finally confessed to Rachel, hey, I've been talking to this girl by email. Rachel asked me to delete the account. I did, and I have not spoke with her since.
Even though Paul stopped talking to that woman, I felt betrayed. I felt like he was lying to me.
Well, Rachel and Paul have been married for 3.5 years. Paul says Rachel is a nag and can't stop talking about an online relationship he developed several years ago. But Rachel says she is on the verge of divorce because Paul uses his blood disorder as an excuse to play video games all day long instead of working, engaging in the relationship, being active in the family. And so we got a situation here that, look, guys, do you want a divorce?
No, sir, I do not.
You'd rather fix this?
Yes, sir, I do.
Are you in love with your husband?
Yes, I am.
Why'd you marry him?
He was good to me and to the kids, and he seemed like he was a really good Christian man with a good heart.
Sounds like a neighbor I had once.
Yep.
That's it? That's why you married him? Nothing personal?
I thought it was personal.
I mean, did y'all have a personal connection?
Yes, we did.
You know,
Did you like him?
Yes.
Why'd you marry her?
I married her because I thought she was beautiful, I was attracted to her, and I fell in love with her.
What do you think now?
I still think the same way, but there's a wall between us. Yeah. And I feel like that we're going the wrong direction.
What do you think the wall is?
I think the wall is about the video games, about extra things that are happening in our life that, with our kids. I'm the stepdad. There's a lot of financial issues that I can't talk to her about without her getting upset with me. And I just feel like that we're going the wrong way.
You want a divorce?
I'm undecided right now. I don't know whether I want to stay or go be on my own and be happy and let her live her life the way she wants to be happy and not make her unhappy anymore. Since she don't like a lot of things about me is what I've heard from her lately. That's how I feel.
You kind of don't like those same things though, right? I mean, come on, just be honest.
Yeah, I don't like them either.
I mean, the reason that it hurts to hear her say them is you don't like them any better than she does.
Right.
So getting rid of her wouldn't get rid of the problems.
No, it's not going to get rid of no problems. I mean, a divorce is not something you go and do. They're not easy. That's why I don't want another one. That's why I want to try and work this out with her.
Okay. So you don't want a divorce?
No, I don't. Like I said, I admit I have a problem.
My plan for this couple next. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Would y'all like me to tell you what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because you're like the poster couple for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you go through school, in my profession, you choose areas of focus, and right. I actually chose two. One was clinical, where you deal with neuroses and psychoses and all that thing, but I also did a whole second area of focus called behavioral medicine, medical psychology, and that's where you focus a lot on chronic disease management. Mm-hmm. And you deal with a lot of diseases that are long-term, things that not acute disorders, but those disorders that have to be managed across years sometimes. And one of the things I learned real fast is that when a member of a family gets a chronic disease, the whole family gets the chronic disease.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's affected. That means that the diagnosis is yours, but the treatment has to be of the whole sociogram, the whole family has to be involved in this, and that's not happening here. Right. You're not part of a treatment plan at all. You're on the outside looking in. You're suffering, but you're not part of the solution. You're just part of the problem. And I know why you are playing video games. You are playing video games because it distracts you from the pain and discomfort that makes those hours drag on and drag on. And anything that takes your mind off of it and kills time and gives you positive reinforcement for a few minutes and allows you some escapism, allows you to escape, is a coping strategy. But it is not a good coping strategy. It's just what's available, so you grab on to what's available, but it has huge side effects, and you're seeing the fallout from that. So what has happened here is we got a chronic disease in this family that's affecting everybody, but we're denying the fact that these other people are affected by it. You don't have the proper coping strategies here. Chronic disease requires active management, and nobody's given you the active management coping skills.
Yes, sir.
And that needs to change.
Yes, sir.
That needs to change, and I know how to help you change that.
I'll be ready to do it.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to the P&P Center in Dallas, Texas. And this is, in my opinion, the premier diagnostic and treatment center, particularly with regard to what you're dealing with in terms of the chronic pain and the disorder that you're dealing with. That's where we will start, and you're probably going to go home with some equipment and some things that you need to do as a protocol to start with. Then we'll start dealing with the relationship and the marriage. But the first thing we got to do is get you actively engaged in your treatment. And you are going to have to be part of this.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you do that? And
Yes,
then
sir.
we'll turn to the rest of it.
Yes, sir.
All right, can you get behind that? Just
Yes,
give me
sir.
some time to get him in control of what's going on here.
Yes, sir.
Because there is so much more you can do than what you're doing here.
I know that.
And we'll power you up here. I mean, this is what I do. I know how to put this protocol together.
That's why I came.
All right, we can do that. All right. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to Dr. Bradley Jabbour, Dr. Rosenthal, and Sonia Mukherjee of Genamind. We'll see you next time.
Here we have an MRI, Aneska's MRI, compared to what a normal brain looks like, which is the green. Aneska is yellow. Compared to the green, her brain is on fire. Too much activity in the frontal lobes. This is very abnormal. The brain's engine is out of sync and not in rhythm with itself, which might explain why she's having a lot of aggression and impulse control. This is Aneska's fMRI of her brain. What this shows is that her wires are abnormal. The wiring is not 100% right, which may lead to connectivity problems. Here we're looking at the third part of the engine, the computer. The normal patient has symmetric sort of yellow and green and red, which means good blood flow. And in Aneska, unfortunately, there's not as much blood flow in the frontal area. With these three tools that we were able to see and measure, we now have a way to have a baseline to follow her as she enters therapy.
Memories can kill ya, but it didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last storm. I've always been naive. Call it